Imagine this. You're going out with one of your friends and you wear one of the nicest fits you have. When you meet up with him, you ask, "How's the fit?" And he responds with, "Well, I love the confidence." Ouch. While he obviously never directly insulted your outfit, you immediately knew he meant your fit was bad. But how? Your brain does not just superficially analyze the words spoken to you, it also actively interprets what the other person implied by their words. This cognitive process allows us to understand things like sarcasm and ensures our conversations are streamlined and efficient. This is the core focus of pragmatics, the field of linguistics that studies how context influences meaning and communication. Paul Grice, a philosopher who was essentially the founder of pragmatics, developed this principle termed the cooperative principle. Make your contribution such as is required, at the stage at which it occurs, by the accepted purpose or direction of the talk exchange in which you are engaged. Basically, this means that when we are talking to someone, we assume they're trying to be helpful and rational. It really wouldn't make any sense if you asked someone what their favorite food was and they responded that last night they took a long walk on the beach. Making sense of these things is what led to what we call a conversational implicature, a meaning that is not explicitly stated, but that listeners infer based on context and shared assumptions about how conversations work. Grice broke down the principle into 4 maxims that we constantly assume others are following. We expect them to be informative, truthful, relevant, and clear. When a speaker flouts one of these maxims, meaning the speaker breaks it on purpose to create an implicature, the listener infers a deeper meaning. Let's look at 2 examples. One of the maxims is called the maxim of quantity, which requires the speaker to be as informative as required, but no more. If this maxim is flouted, it usually means the speaker is saying too little. For example, say your friend went to go see a movie and you ask him how it was. He responds with, "The popcorn was fantastic." While your friend didn't say outright that the movie was bad, you inferred it because it didn't provide the necessary information, which is, for example, information about the plot and the acting. You assume your friend is being cooperative, so you calculate the implicature that the movie must be bad. Another maxim is called the maxim of quality, which requires the speaker to be truthful and avoid making statements that don't have sufficient evidence. When this maxim is flouted, we get sarcasm or irony. For example, say it's pouring outside and your friend says, "Nice weather today, huh?" And you respond with, "Yeah, absolutely gorgeous." In this case, it is clear that both of your statements are not truthful. However, since the conversation is still expected to be cooperative, the listener realizes that the meaning is the opposite of what was said. Thus, the implicature is generated. The weather is awful. So we know how implicature works, but why is this process foundational to cognitive psychology? Because deriving these implied meanings isn't free. It comes with a measurable cognitive cost. One of the clearest examples comes from a special type of implicature called scalar implicatures, cases when we use a weaker term, like some, to imply the negation of a stronger term, like all. For example, if I say, "Some students passed the test," your brain immediately calculates that not all students passed. Psycholinguistic studies, using tools like reaction time experiments, have confirmed that the brain must perform extra work to arrive at that implied meaning. Experiments, like the classic Bott and Novick study, show that people take longer to confirm the pragmatic meaning, "some but not all," than the literal meaning, "some but maybe all." This delay is tiny, but measurable. It shows that your brain must momentarily pause, reject the literal meaning, compare alternatives like all, and then compute the implied one. This process uses cognitive resources like working memory, and when someone is mentally overloaded, their ability to drive implicatures actually drops. Every successful conversation, therefore, requires the listener's brain to be an active, calculating machine to bridge the gap between words and meaning. And so, in the end, why bother with implicature at all? Why not just say exactly what we mean? We use it because it's efficient. Instead of saying, "I think your outfit is bad," your friend can save time and maybe even your feelings by simply saying, "Well, I love the confidence." While this inference comes at a minor cognitive cost to the listener, it saves incredible amounts of time and energy in every conversation, making communication the streamlined, lightning fast cognitive process we rely on every day.